Major Elden Ring announcement coming.
Alright, what's going on, guys? This is a video I've been meaning to make for a little bit, but I wanted to wait until after Christmas just to confirm something. It is inevitable that we're going to get more of Elden Ring. We recently just had the Coliseum update that I was telling you guys all along was going to come out before the end of the year.
It's so crazy that they brought out the Coliseum update for free. They just said, hey, yeah, by the way, we're bringing this out, and it's free. You can play it right now. There you go. That was so badass.
Like the PvP enjoyer that I am, I was super hyped about that. But there is a reality that that update did not satisfy the majority of players. And regardless of how you feel about that, the majority of Elden Ring players are here for the PvE. And we have a dilemma.
That's true.
With the recent announcement of Armored Core 6 coming in 2023, we have a large contingent of From Software fans that are feeling a bit disenfranchised by the recent pattern. The players that are not interested in Elden Ring PvP and are also hesitant to get excited for or try Armored Core, today I want to offer you some hope, because we have confirmation that big things are coming, and I'm going to get you...
I think that, like, whenever you buy a game, like, you can't really buy a game and expect them to make DLC for it. For example, like, Sekiro never got DLC. I think everybody was expecting, like, the Tomoe, like, the, you know, character like Ishin talks about, and, like, the Lightning Girl. Like, it's like she's referenced in the lore, and everybody thought, like, oh, well, they're going to do a DLC with her, but, like, that just never happened. Like... You just because you buy a game doesn't mean you're entitled for them to make more content. I wish it was like that. That'd be great. I'd love to see more Elden Ring content. But if you buy the game, you know, you get what you pay for. I think that's what's fair. I think that also, like, this is one of the outcomes where, like, all these other games are games as a live service, and Elden Ring isn't really a live service game in the same way. And I think people just expect games to function as a live service even whenever they're not.
Up to speed on this really important news that went under the radar and what you need to be paying attention to going forward. So as we get into that today, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest news and discussion around From Software, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because the future of this company is looking extremely bright and you're not going to want to miss anything. But with all that, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, it's been a minute since the Game Awards.
Everybody knows. Yeah, everybody knows. Like, yeah.
Elden Ring got the recognition it definitely deserved, but we had a lot going on. Personally, I was not expecting them to announce the Coliseums before the Game Awards, but rather at the Game Awards.
I guess this was an old one?
However,
I
we
don't
did
know.
still get somewhat of a mention of Elden Ring DLC. And between
Maybe
Elden
not.
Ring winning Game of the Year and the debacle with the Bill Clinton kid, you may have forgotten about it.
で、このエルデンリングについてもまだやりたいことありますので、その点でも今回の受賞すごく大きな励みになりました。
As for Elden Ring, we still have several more things we want to do. So getting this Goldie Award really encouraged us.
Fucking getting ready
So
for
at the
it.
Game Awards, after receiving the Game of the Year award, Miyazaki confirmed that they're working on several more things for Elden Ring. Now
That makes sense. I mean, of course, they're probably going to make more stuff for the game. I think that it's actually a good idea for them to move away from making another game that's as good as Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is one of those games that, like, whenever you make it, you're like, okay, I'm done. That's it. All right, let's go do something else. Like, we pretty much, like, we got it, and we made the best version of it. Maybe we'll make another one later on, but, like, let's just take a break.
It's not the main thing I wanted to talk about, but it does put into context that there is more of this story that they want to tell. And I mean, realistically, if we're being completely honest, that only means one thing: a real full-scale DLC. Now, yes, the
Yeah, I would assume
Coliseums
so.
were technically DLC, however, we all know what you're hoping for: more of the PvE adventure in a full-scale paid DLC. And it looks like that could be coming pretty soon.
I think people want to have harder bosses. A lot of the bosses in Elden Ring, I would argue, except for Moenia, are, like, really... Like, maybe it's just because I've played the games a lot, but they're really easy.
Because if you're signed up to the Bandai Namco email list, then you would have received a note that was really interesting. This email reads, Elden Ring wins Game of the Year. Congratulations to Elden Ring for winning Game of the Year, Best RPG, and Best Art Direction at the Game Awards. It's been an incredible year of gaming, and we thank the Elden Ring community for their love and support of the game thus far. States
I think that it's going to be a situation, like, if they add DLC, I hope it's like the Dark Souls 3 DLC. Where, like, Gale and Midir, like, these are, like, the hardest bosses in the game. They are, I would say the DLC bosses minus like the Ancient Wyvern are like a large measure of magnitude harder than anything in the base game, minus, I don't know. I think Nameless King was pretty hard. I think the Twin Princes are kind of hard, but all of those bosses pale in comparison to DLC.
In the days and weeks to come, as there is more Elden Ring news that awaits. For those who have yet to experience Elden Ring, there's no better time than now. I had mentioned that email very briefly in one of the last few videos, but I think it's an extremely important piece of news that nobody was really talking about, and there's a lot of context to go along with it. But the obvious standout point of that email was that it said to look out for more Elden Ring news in the days and weeks to come. Now the obvious problem here is that days and weeks can literally mean anything, which is why I wanted to wait till after Christmas in case they were planning a Christmas announcement, but clearly that didn't happen. So now we can go into a deep dive on this. The only bit of news that we've seen since the Game Awards relating to Elden Ring is that it has gone on sale in time for the holidays. But let me reassure you that is not what the email was referring to, because in the line directly after that they say now is the best time to hop into the game, which they wouldn't say if their news was that it was going to go on sale a few weeks later. But rather, if we compare this to what Miyazaki said at the Game Awards, clearly this is talking about more in-game content. If it was anybody other than Miyazaki saying that, I wouldn't really be inclined to think that it's a full-scale DLC. However, since it is his creative project, whatever they're working on is likely to have more story implications. But let's put this in context for a little bit. We are obviously coming up on the new year, and with the new year comes a lot of business things. The next quarter for the Japanese fiscal year begins on January 1st, and what that means is that on January 2nd, we're going to get the next investors report for Kadokawa, who is the parent company of From Software. In these reports, we typically get a good outlook on what they're planning to do in the next quarter and how they view their performance in the last. Now, as we all know,
that's true. And this is the same thing with the Blizzard reports, is that whenever the Activision Blizzard shareholder reports come out, that tells you more about like how the game is going to evolve than anything else, because those are the guys that have the money that make the decisions.
Elden Ring contributed a huge deal to Kadokawa's success in 2022. And after we got that first investors report after the game release and had such monumental success, they were already discussing ways to have more paid content for this game. So what we can expect in this report is a reflection on the recent success at the Game Awards, as well as talk about ways of making more money off of the game based on that success, which is almost a 100% guarantee. And
well, that's definitely true, because like one thing with Elden Ring is such a massive, expansive game that like adding new content to the game, like new weapons or new types of spells or anything like that, like it has a multiplier effect on all of the other content of the game, because now you can go back and do all of that other stuff with these new items.
Several business reasons of why this would make sense. Of course, the biggest main reason of why they need to push out a DLC for Elden Ring is what I was explaining in the intro to this video. Those disenfranchised fans who won't be picking up Armored Core. Now, personally, I'm super excited to try.
I think that most people that play Elden Ring and that are fans of From Software will probably play Armored Core in the same way that they played Sekiro. Sekiro was a very big departure from the way that their previous games had played, and most of them went and they played it. Like, and this is kind of like, this is what happened with Blizzard back in the day, is that Blizzard had such a good reputation that anything that Blizzard made, people would try it out. If Blizzard made an MMO, people tried it out. Whenever they made Heroes of the Storm, people tried that out. I think people have faith in the developer to make a good game, and I think that having a good game is even more important than having the same genre. Sekiro is still similar, Armored Core is not. I never played the original Armored Core, so I would probably say, yeah, you're probably right from like what I've seen, is that, yeah, Armored Core is more different than Sekiro is, but I do think Sekiro is a different game. It is a fundamentally different game, and I think people all bought that one too. All I'm saying is that I think there's a lot of people that are fans of the development studio, and any game that they put out that is a good game, they're going to buy it regardless of like what the specific genre of it is.
Something that isn't a Souls game from Software. However, even based off the video performance on my channel, I can tell there's a lot of y'all that just aren't interested in Armored Core. And that's something they're going to have to make clear to the investors. Armored Core simply is not going to capitalize off the success of Elden Ring. Now, I know Miyazaki and From Software...
I don't think that it will in the same way that like for example, if they brought out Dark Souls 4 after this, I think that Dark Souls 4 would obviously capitalize way more off of it than Armored Core would. But I still do think, obviously, Elden Ring being successful and the studio being successful, like pretty much every single time they bring something out, that does contribute to it. Absolutely.
Only care about making games they're passionate about, and that's almost definitely the reason their games are so good in the first place. But the investors are a different animal. They're gonna want a capitalization, one that's going to supplement the lower sales of Armored Core. But then we gotta think about timing, because the next fiscal...
That is a good point, that they would probably, like, yeah, if they're gonna make Armored Core might sell less than Elden Ring, so maybe they'll bring out more Elden Ring DLC to supplement that. Because that's kind of what happened with Dark Souls 2. Is that Dark Souls 2 had, like, what was it, 2 or 3 big DLCs? It wasn't just, like, one thing. So it got changed a lot. Yeah, it was 3? Yeah, I thought it was 3. I knew it was at least 2.
Year doesn't start until April. The chances that Armored Core gets released in the next fiscal year is almost a certainty. I simply can't see that they would release this in the same fiscal year that Elden Ring has blown way past expectations. But if we follow that logic, then that would mean that DLC would also have to release in that fiscal year. And so my theory on when I think Armored Core is going to release will be later in the year. Since we didn't get a release date with this trailer, only the year 2023. And so if we build off that, April
December.
sounds like a good time for the paid Elden Ring DLC to release. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that that feels a little bit far off. But as for the announcement, it'll definitely be...
I think that the reason why a lot of people are in kind of like a content drought that are big fans of Elden Ring is that there aren't a lot of mods out for Elden Ring. And like, I think that's different than what a lot of people were used to with Dark Souls 3. Is that Dark Souls 3 had so many different mods to it that people could go back and play different versions of the game. Like you could go play, you know, the Cinders mod, the Hollow mod, the Convergence mod, and I think those were the 3 main big ones. So as soon as Elden Ring starts seeing more mods come out, I remember seeing the Convergence mod team made actually a tweet recently about, like, you know, their development and like their progress on an Elden Ring mod for Convergence. So I think whenever that comes out, that will definitely be a good stopgap for a lot of people, especially people that are like hardcore fans of the game.
Pretty soon. We have some key dates coming up. Right now is a pretty bad time to make a gaming announcement. November and December are usually super busy, the time when everybody's marketing their games for the holidays, when the most consumer eyes are on the advertising. But once Christmas and the holidays actually hit, most companies end up waiting until after Lunar New Year on January 22nd to make any major announcements. With that being said though, From Software has a tendency to just shadow drop things with no rhyme or reason of prediction, which has happened before. But we also have the 1-year anniversary of Elden Ring's release on February 25th. However, I think the term days and weeks to come doesn't mean that long. But either way, your eyes should be looking out for an
days and weeks makes me think that it's 2 to 5 weeks.
Announcement very soon. But here's what we need to keep in mind. Since Elden Ring won Game of the Year, that guarantees something pretty big, that Elden Ring is going to be remarketed as Game of the Year Edition. And if they're making paid DLC, then they're probably going to wait until after that releases to market that game so that they can include it in the bundle.
That's a really good point. I never thought of that. That's really smart.
I simply cannot imagine that that won't be something that's demanded by the investors. And realistically, here's what I think is going on. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think DLC was ever planned for Elden Ring. Aside from the Colosseums, I think they left the idea as a possibility based on how much unexplored lore and cut content that we have. However, after the
I wouldn't be surprised if they also had DLC planned. I would not be surprised, and I don't think it's a big... I think it's something that they might not have really planned for, but they'd still probably want to do, because of just how expansive they made the game.
Extreme and unexpected success of the game, they are now forced into a position where they have to make it. And so what this email says to me is that after winning Game of the Year, they are likely now scrambling to make a trailer for the DLC so that they can announce it, or at least announce that it's coming, as a way of saying thank you. But either way, I'm very excited for the next few weeks. I know there's some people that have been kind of down because they don't like PvP or Armored Core. Rest assured, exactly what you want is coming. They have much more planned for Elden Ring, and although we don't have a specific date yet, all we have to do is just sit back and let them cook, follow the context clues, and await their official announcement.
I think that's really the truth, is that people that get impatient about that, like, chill the fuck out, man. Think about how long it took for Elden Ring to come out. Like, Elden Ring got announced, and then they just went silent for like a year and a half. And then a little bit after that, it came out, and that was it. So it'll come out when it comes out.
But that investors report is definitely going to have some details, and I will be covering that for you guys on
I'm
January
curious
2nd.
about that.
So make sure you're subscribed for that. But either way though, guys, that's going to pretty much do it for the video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like on it. Let me know down below, what do you think days and weeks to come means? Personally, I'm not exactly sure what to make of it. But with all that, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you in the next one.
That was a good video. With some good insight too. I'm going to link you guys this. Yeah, we've watched one or two of his videos before from like Elden Ring stuff, and yeah, I think this is very, very insightful, especially with like the fucking the earnings report and all of that. I thought Elden Ring was announced. They didn't say anything for like 3 years. Yeah, they didn't, like, Elden Ring got announced. I remember looking at this. I reacted to the first Elden Ring video whenever it was classic WoW beta. So this is like early 2019. So it was nuts how long ago it was, man. Will you cover any Wayfinder game content? Yeah, actually the developers of that game reached out to me. I didn't follow up with them because this was like, there was like some other bullshit going on at the time. But I probably need to do that in the next couple of days and kind of see where they're at. And so, yeah, that's the way I feel that way about it. Like, I mean, I'm excited about that game too. But I just want to talk about Elden Ring right now, is that I think they're going to have DLC for Elden Ring because the game was so massively successful. I think the DLC is not going to be as transformative as, let's say, the Lost Hunters or the Old Hunters DLC for Bloodborne was. It's probably not going to be on that level. It's probably just going to be a lot harder bosses. I would say somewhere, like, if it's as good as the Dark Souls 3 DLC, I will be very happy. And I don't think that there's ever been DLC that was, like, fundamentally bad. Like, with Dark Souls 2, the DLC is the saving grace of the game. With Dark Souls 1, it had, I mean, fuck bro, it had Artorias, it had, what's that, the dragon does the Calamity Ring, fuck, I can't believe I can't think of its name. Yeah, Calamite. Yeah, there you go, Calamite. And then Manus. I didn't like the Manus fight, but like the aesthetic of it was fucking amazing. The Ulasil area, Dark Souls 2, obviously, you know, 3 different DLCs, massively successful, best things about the game. And then with Dark Souls 3, you had the DLC with that too. I was thinking actually about Bloodborne, and I don't remember this because I never used this weapon. Is the Whirligig weapon from the DLC or not? You know, that's like the chainsaw type thing. It's from the DLC. I thought it was. I just didn't want to go out and say that. Think about how many people got that weapon and then replayed the game because of that weapon. And think about how many people got the dual greatsword, the twin greatswords, from Dark Souls 3 and replayed the game because of that. So that's what the potential of Elden Ring DLC has, is that it has a potential of multiplying the content in the game for people that are already playing it by creating transformative weapons. So I'm really excited. I hope it's going to be fucking awesome. As you guys know, I have played a lot of these games. And so I'm very happy to see any of them come out. Yeah, Fume Knight as well. Like, Fume Knight, I think Fume Knight was DLC too. I'm like 90% sure Fume Knight was DLC. I'm like 95% sure it was DLC. And, let's see. Yeah, it was? Okay. Yeah, and like that had a cool weapon too. Suge Knight? No, that guy's in jail or something. Pull a Bethesda and re-release the game every year. I mean, as long as the game has new content, I don't really give a fuck, man. Yeah, hopefully not as many times as Skyrim, though, let's be honest.